in the bag, ideas to flow. Steph and Joe are on the go, go, go. Sharing what we know from the classroom to the show. It's Steph and Joe on the go. Innovation, education, moving fast with dedication. Come along, let's start the flow. It's Steph and Joe on the go.
Good morning, everyone. We are back on the go with back to school, right, Joe?
That's right. On the go, back to school. It seems like once school hits, you're always go, 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 right? Whether you're a teacher, an administrator, a parent, this is the time of year that everything starts culminating to the beginning of the year. It's insane.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's a whole new perspective. I have a son who's AJ. He's 5 and he's going to kindergarten.
Yay, kindergarten. Such a fun age.
His kindergarten's all day. So I know, like, depending on, in Ohio at least, they don't have to have kindergarten all day. It can be half day or full day. And so he has it full day.
Well, I think full day is really important. You know, actually, my wife and I were talking about this last night. We had a back to school night for our daughters. I have Coletta, who's 9. She's going into 4th grade. And Ellery, who is 6, and she's going into 1st grade. And, you know, we went to and listened to the teachers talk. And our 1st grade teacher, phenomenal, by the way, was like, we understand that a lot of your students are coming from kindergarten who only had a half day. And this is a full day, you know, and they can get hungry. They can get cranky in the afternoon, you know, and basically the teacher said, let us deal with that. You know, you don't have to come in. You don't have to come into the classroom and bring your kid a treat in the afternoon. We will deal with all of that. And so I think it's a big difference when, you know, AJ is going to a full day of kindergarten. It makes that transition into 1st grade that much easier. Luckily for us, we had, you know, we did have a half day kindergarten, but we also had almost like an enrichment program we sent Ellery to when she wasn't in kindergarten. So she was still doing a full day. And so it's much easier for her to transition to 1st grade. But man, being a parent with a student and just letting go, you know, it's difficult. You know, you start understanding why parents are standing outside the door, you know, when they're dropping their kids off. You know, it's much different being on this side of things.
And I think, too, my perspective of a teacher changed because, like, I just go back to my first few years when I didn't have kids in my classroom management. Like, I always thought parents didn't want a strict teacher that was, like, you know, keeping their kids accountable. I don't know why. I just thought that would cause conflict among parents, me disciplining their child for something that they did. And it's the opposite is what I'm finding. When I'm talking to all of these parents, they're like, I've heard she's strict. She's got routines. She's on these kids. She keeps them accountable. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, so parents actually do want that. You know, I don't know if all parents do, but, you know, it's just funny thinking back to my first couple years of teaching and just how I was so nervous to discipline somebody else's child and having that conflict. I think, I don't know if you've ever felt that way, Joe, but that's how I did my first years of teaching.
No, yeah. I mean, you want to make sure that you are acknowledging that everybody comes from a different household with different rules, but you also want to acknowledge to the parents and to the students, you're not at home. You're in our community, right? And I always emphasize the classroom is a community, right? The teachers and the students, they coexist together, and they need to come up with rules that everybody can abide by and everybody should follow. And it could be different than the rules you have placed in your house. And being completely upfront about that with the students and with the parents, I think is really important. And then I love that our 1st grader, Mrs. Contreras, our 1st grade teacher, she laid out, like, if your student is disobeying the rules, here's our steps that we follow. And contacting you is step 4. So know that if I'm talking to you, I already went through step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm not just calling you because, you know, I am. There's steps we've gone through. And parents are like, oh, okay. Like, you know, you don't think a parent's going to contact you. I mean, a teacher's going to contact a parent just because a kid slipped up once, right? It's after a while, you're like, oh, I better contact parents. They're not stopping.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And I think too, I was so focused my first couple years of, content and making sure that my students knew how to solve fractions. And here I am as a parent, I'm like, I just want AJ to make friends. Like I just want him to have some good friends that he's connecting with. I'm more concerned about his SEL than I am about the content, I think, too, as a parent. I don't know if
Well,
you
well,
are
you know
too.
that's a question I have for you. Being a parent of a newly crowned kindergartner, right?
Yeah,
It's an emotional time for you as much as it is for AJ, for your son, right?
yeah.
So my question for you is, what did you as a mom, as a parent, and AJ as the newly coming in student, what did you talk about? What did you do to prepare for this moment? What did you do to prepare for going into school for the first time? What kind of conversations did you have with them?
Yeah, so we haven't started just yet. So he is not started yet, but all the back to school emails, all the back to school activities that you need to do are coming into play. So one thing is we did get him into sports young, so that way he could just kind of socialize. I thought that was really important. And then another thing that we've done is teaching him how to eat Lunchables. AJ is a very picky eater. And so I'm like, this kid will not buy the school lunch. Like, he will not eat it. He is very picky. He loves pizza Lunchables. So, what I've done this past week is I know there's going to be an aide there to support him, but I want him to feel like, oh my gosh, I can open this. And maybe he can help some friends around too. And I've been working with him. I'm like, I'm not opening that for you. If you're hungry, you're going to need to learn how to open that pizza Lunchable. And so he's been learning how to open it, and he finally had some success yesterday. And so just kind of creating those independent moments for him has been really helpful. And I think also like teaching him to advocate for himself. I'm like, okay, AJ, you need to, when we're out to dinner, you need to order your food. You need to be able to speak to strangers. You need to be able to do this. So those are some other things that we've done as well, is just like, okay, you got to speak up, right? Like you got to be able to speak up if you need something, because we're not going to be there.
No, I love that. I love that. Because we need to be able to have our students understand that they need to advocate for themselves, and doing that at the very early stages is really, really great. And it's interesting. Some of the things we teach our kids at home, to celebrate their education, to celebrate their understanding, it doesn't really translate into the classroom. For example, we went to back to school night again last night. We were in the first grade class, and Ellery was sitting at her seat and listening to her teacher talk. And she pointed to the back and said, "This is our schedule." She goes, your students probably can't read that, but it's going to be here for them. And Ellery goes, "Oh, I can read it." And I'm like, "Sister, I know we celebrate what we know, but sometimes we want to hold back because we don't want others to feel bad that they can't read that." She goes, "But Daddy, I wanted her to know I can read it." I go, "Sister, she'll know as the year gets on that you're a really good reader. But
Oh,
we don't have to point it out to everybody." It's just so funny. And so, celebrating their wins, but also kind of making sure that we're not like flouting our wins in front of people. It's a really fine line to walk, right?
yeah.
When you're with a whole bunch of other people, but still you want your kids to be proud of what they've learned and what they know. So it's that fine line between how do you act in public and how do you act at home?
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think as well, like as an instructional coach, there's so much that you have to do to get the school year ready, and as a teacher as well. So I think we should kind of dive into some of those ideas and strategies that ed tech coaches and teachers can use so they're ready to go that first week.
Yeah, so and I want to hear your thoughts on this too. And then the listeners, I want to hear your thoughts. So I went through all of last year. My whole number one goal was to get teachers to trust me. I didn't care how much they invited me into their classroom. I don't care how much they did or didn't use me. I just wanted them to know that whatever they ask, I'm there to help. And I think it worked really well because I was talking to the principals before school started. And this is the first week teachers came back. And I was like, "Hey, do you want me to come during in-service and chat with the teachers and talk a little bit about this or that?" And most of them said, "Actually, I talked to the teachers. They know you. They like you. You don't really need to come in and talk to them." And I'm like, "But I want to do some FaceTime." And they're like, "Well, we really want to give them more classroom prep time." Right. And I'm like, yes, I don't want to be that person taking away classroom prep time. And if they're already trusting me, maybe I don't have to be in front of them. But I did miss that. I missed being able to step in front for 30 minutes and explain, hey, this is how I'm here. Here's my schedule. This is how to book me. So I didn't get to do that. I sent out an email. I want to hear your thoughts on that, because an email, while very informative, doesn't have the same thing as you talking to somebody face to face. What would you say to someone like me who wants to get more face time, but there's not a lot of time that first week of school to get that face time with your educators?
Yeah, I think too, I don't know how you feel. This is probably a hot take in education, right? Like, should teachers get on the computers that first few days of school, or should they not? Like, should they do offline activities? Should it be they get online right away? Like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that as well. But for me as a coach, I didn't get a whole lot of FaceTime with teachers before the school year, just because, again, there were so many things that they had to do and learn and go over. And then again, they wanted that time as well in their classrooms.
Yeah,
And
it's because just real quick. Last year, I kind of wrote down all the things that teachers were asking me the first couple of weeks, right? And I placed it in a folder called first week of school, just so like, okay, next year, I know these are the things that teachers asked for. I'm going to keep it at top of mind. And so I used that with AI to say, like, okay, last year, this is what teachers asked for. I'm not going to be able to talk to them in person. I'd like to make a quick email to them listing links to all of these items. And it made a phenomenal email. It separated it out so that you can visually see, this is what I need. Here's the link. This is what I need. Here's the link. And I sent that out. And teachers were very appreciative. But it's still like I'm not in front of them. I want to see their face. I want to talk to them. I want to ask them their goals and their dreams and their wants for the year. But just like you said, man, they're running around so fast trying to get things ready. I don't want to be that person to stop their flow. So, and it's just an odd situation to be in as a tech coach, because you want to be there to help, but you also don't want to be in their way. And I think getting out of their way is the best way to help at this moment. So it's just one of those push and pull things that happens.
Yeah. And so what I usually did those times where there was work days. Now, if it was interrupted, like they got the time to themselves, I usually just kind of plan my own activities and what I needed to do. But the time where I was able to, like, it was district, like you could bother them, their principal was allowed to bother them as well. That's when I would go in and I would just help. If they were needing help creating a bulletin board, I was stapling letters, having conversations with them to build that relationship of just, how was your summer? How was things? Like, I would just start being like, hey, can I help you put this up? I just kind of realized what need was happening in their classroom. If they were putting out folders on students' desks, hey, can I take half of them and help you do the other half of the classroom? Just whatever I could do. And then I would kind of go to the next classroom. So kind of like those hospital rounds that doctors do, I would kind of do that, where I would just kind of hop from classroom to classroom, doing little tasks of just, okay, what is it that you need? Do you need me to open up these school supplies and put them into a box? You need me to, do whatever. And as I'm doing that, I'm having a conversation with them. So
no, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so that was something that I found a lot of success with if I couldn't meet with the whole staff. However, I made it a priority to meet new teachers at orientation. And I think you did too, Joe. And so whenever there was teacher orientation, that's where I was like, okay, that is where I need to get face-to-face time, because I want these teachers to like me. I want them to trust me. I want to go over things with them. And so I just kind of viewed it as you're building the capacity, right? You've already got relationships with the teachers who are already teaching. They met you last year. And so now you just got to check in with them. And now you've got new teachers starting, and that's where you really need your FaceTime at.
Yeah, I think getting with the brand new incoming teachers, getting them to know how to use you and what you can be used for. Plus, they haven't really solidified their pedagogical approach to teaching and learning yet. They're still being molded. And then showcasing that, technology is not one more thing. It's an integration of all the things, right? And make it a seamless experience. I like that. I should write down all my new teachers I have in all my 5 schools that I cover, and maybe really take some time to just stop by their classroom today, because it's the last day before, kids come back on Monday. Maybe just stop by, say hey, and introduce myself personally. I like that idea. I wasn't thinking about that, but I'm now planning my day to do that. So I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think sometimes those moments where you're helping a teacher, I'm only there for maybe 5-10 minutes, and I got one task done for them, right? That didn't take long, and it took, very brain work, but I was like, okay, I'm able to have a conversation while I'm helping you sort out the folders or go and organize the printing that you just did, or whatever you need. I'm there for a quick 10-minute task. And that goes a long way for teachers, is what I've noticed.
Yeah, I made a little joke at the end of my email this week that said, I'm here for anything. I said, except setting up your printer, and I put in parentheses because that even frustrates me and makes me cry.
Yeah.
But just trying to acknowledge, like, hey, I'm here to help you with a lot of stuff, but there's some things I even can't do because the network is completely locked down. But just being personal, and for me, it's just I thrive on face-to-face, and with covering 5 sites with 30 teachers at each site, it's so hard for me to feel like I'm part of a team, because I'm constantly moving around from team to team. And so I really want them to feel like I am part of their team, but it's hard when you don't have as much face-to-face time as you'd like. But that's the life of a tech coach, and we have to rely on other coaches like yourself in the past to come up with new ideas and new ways to make those connections. I saw a lot of chatter in our ISTE group, or maybe it was our Adobe group. So many groups we have, about they're transitioning to like printer PD, right? They're putting up little flyers of different things that can be done, but they're putting it at the Xerox machine or the Rizzo machine of all the things the tech coach can do, almost like a hey, flyer, here's my number, call me if you need me kind of a deal. And I kind of like that because it takes away the tech and it adds a little bit more personal ability. So I might take those ideas and start putting up some printer PDs around my elementary schools as well. But by learning from others, you come up with ideas you would never have come up on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And then you can also brainstorm with other folks from other districts to say, okay, what are you putting on your potty PD, or if you're doing the printer PD, what are you putting on there? So I'm able to also kind of get ideas and help my teachers. So I always was able to brainstorm with other folks, and that always helped too, I thought.
No, that's great. I always felt weird about potty PD. I don't want people thinking about me while they're doing their business, but that's why I kind of resonated with that printer PD.
Yeah.
But okay, so now let's go back to what you said about should you or shouldn't you utilize computers at the very beginning of the year, right? My take is this, and this is what I've told other teachers. You may not need to use the devices the first week, but if you're going over classroom rules and instructions, you should incorporate how we handle technology. How do we get up from our seats, get in line to grab the computers out of the cart? How do we put them back? So maybe not using the computers completely, but getting them to learn the classroom routine, because otherwise it makes the computers seem like they are separate from the normalization of our classroom instruction. And we want to make sure that technology is just another tool for our kids. And we don't want to put it off in a kind of a band of its own. So I always recommend, talk to your kids about the computers. Talk to them that they have a login. Practice getting them and holding the Chromebooks with both hands when you're walking back to your desk. Open the Chromebook up. You see where you put in your stuff. You're going to type in your username and your password. We're going to log in. We're going to log out. Practicing that routine, I think, is very important during the first week. And in fact, that's what I say is our first digital citizenship lesson. Is if we're going to be good digital citizens, we have to be good citizens with our devices and treat them properly, and not just throw them around. So that's what I always recommend to my teachers. You don't necessarily have to use the computer, but practicing getting, logging in, and putting back, I think is very important for that first week.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think too, another way as a coach, you can offer to help with logging in to the device. That is a stress for teachers, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
even in fifth grade, when I was working with like fifth grade or middle school, junior high folks, teaching them just, okay, here's how you get into your computer. If you're able to put in a help desk ticket or reset the password in the moment with that teacher, that is appreciative, right? Like if you are a district that has certain passwords, it just kind of depends, I think, on where you're at. But teachers really appreciate when you're there helping them with getting into the device. If there's any issues with it, you're there to help them. So I think that's important too. Or maybe you can be a station while the teacher's doing something else with another group of kids and just helping small groups get in if you're working with kindergarten or elementary. But that is just one thing that I've noticed that a lot of teachers appreciate, and it's something again small that you're able to do.
No, I love it, especially those younger grades like kindergarten and first grade. When, maybe those students only know how to use a tablet and the tablet's already on because their parents turn it on and hand it to the kids. So they don't really know how to log into things, but they do know how to use the tech once they're into it. So yeah, helping, maybe even helping reset the passwords because here in our district, you're required to reset the password right before the beginning of the year, but you can't just reset the entire class at once. You have to go individually through each student and reset the passwords.
Yeah.
And it could be a very, very stressful time. And I know a lot of teachers come in on the weekends with like family and they have the family members help them do all that stuff. So it can be very stressful, but I do have something I have to send out, and thank you for reminding me. It's, once you get to the older grades, maybe fourth, fifth, sixth, I have to really emphasize the teachers not having a common password. I know some of our younger teachers or younger grade level teachers, they want to have the same password. So if a kid forgets it, they know the password. But
Yeah.
the issue comes in when, kids know, oh, everybody's username is first name, last name 001. And we all have the same password. So I can log into anybody's computer from home and pretend I'm them and cause a little bit of trouble. And that's been an issue because I've had, teachers go, is there any way for kids to hack into another kid's account? Because a kid said they didn't do this, but they said somebody hacked into it. I said, well, they can't hack into it, but let me ask you this question. Do all of your students have the same password? And they're like, well, yes. I go, then it's not really hacking. They know how to log into everybody's computer. You need to make sure that everybody has a different password. And then they're like, it's so hard if everybody has their own password. Go, I understand it, but there's a reason there's a password. It's called security. And even at fourth grade, kids can get a little wily and they deserve to have a little bit of security. So I do have to have a little conversation with my teachers about that.
Yeah, no, I've had conversations too with teachers about that too, because again, it's easier, right, for them if a kid forgets their password, because then they don't have to send the kid somewhere to go fix that or whatever. And there is a lot of security reasons with it. So
yeah,
it's interesting. But it's also hard too, because like in our district, kids could set their password ahead of time if they logged in, which again was like half the group would log in, other kids wouldn't log in. Then you're just trying to figure out who's logged in, who hasn't logged in, who changed because like when you change your password, it's the first thing that you have to do since logging in past that certain date.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this kid didn't, this kid remembers their password, this one doesn't. And then you're just like, okay, I got to get that reset. So again, know your district and what they do. If you don't know, ask. Because it can be a big frustration if you have kids that have already changed their password because they have a personal computer at home or whatever reason they were on their device.
No, I agree. It's all these small little things that, teachers have so much they do at the beginning of the year, and they have so much they do during the year. It's so normal for a huge portion of what you have to get done at the beginning of the year to be forgotten. Like setting up your grade book, right? Setting up your grade book in our system takes a while. And so teachers spend a little bit of time at the beginning of the year doing that, but then they don't have to set it up again for the rest of the year. So they forget how to. And so sending out a little how-to guide, here's the easiest way to set up your grade books. is really appreciated by a lot of the teachers, because they don't want to, a lot of people don't want to ask,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh wait, we do this every year. If I ask, it makes me look like I don't do this. And I'm like, no. It's a thing you do one time, and then you have, 11 months, you don't do it again. So you're not going to remember everything. So just being mindful. Okay, I want to send this to my teachers because they may have forgotten, or this is how you reset a student's password because I know they're going to ask, now they can do it themselves. Finding those things throughout the year that teachers are going to need help with, and jotting those notes down so that you're ready and prepared to provide them that support at the very beginning of the year.
Yeah, and I think just like you said, making them know that it's okay that they don't know, and saying like, this is a task you only do once a year. If you guys need help, let me know, because I get it. Like, it's something that you might not remember. So maybe just even pointing it out in like a friendly way of like, this is something you only do once. If you need help, please let me know, or I can send you the directions. Because yeah, there's things that teachers only do once a year, and then they do feel a little bit like, crap, I should know this. I can't ask anybody. And it's like, no, ask me. I want to help you. And there's, I even was like, I don't remember how we do this either. Right. Because, but then once I do it with one teacher, I can show other teachers how to do it faster because
Correct.
through that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what as well? And I decided, this is something I should do. And that's look into new initiatives that are being, pushed out either district wide or campus wide or even statewide, because, when you add an initiative on top of your already needed duties, it can cause a little bit of stress for the teachers, right? And so if there's a new initiative, especially if there's tech involved and you're the tech coach, when they come to you for help about this new thing, they may be frustrated because they may have, gone to a training, they may have tried it and they failed. And then they finally call you, and they may be a little stressed. They may be a little short. Hey, come over here and show me how to do this. And you just can't take it personally. Like, they are going through some stuff. You got to have that customer service attitude that the customer's always right and you're here to support them, right? And that's the way I always approach it. So I've been going to all the new initiative meetings that have to deal with technology just so I can hear what they're being presented. And oh my goodness. So the state of California has a new mandate that every single student in kindergarten, first and second, takes a standardized reading assessment. And there's either 2 or 3 programs that the state adopted as these are the programs you can use. So we selected one, and they flew out a trainer to come and train our staff on it. And oh my goodness, this is where I appreciate good trainers and understand how people can be frustrated with bad trainers, because this trainer was like speeding through some of the parts that really needed to be slowed down. And when we got to the part where we were supposed to practice, nobody knew how to log in. And instead of the trainer saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to go back and help you out, they said, but I already showed that to you. And I was like, oh my goodness. So, and I leaned over to one of my teachers, and I'm like, well, no wonder some teachers hate technology. No wonder they're so frustrated with technology. And they looked at me and they vigorously shake their head yes. So being able to experience those kinds of things with your teachers helps you understand where their frustrations are coming from. I think that's very important.
Yeah, no, I agree, because there is a lot of things that happen, I feel like, that are being introduced to teachers, and they always come over from summer, and it's overwhelming because it's like administrators had 3 months to get all of these new ideas and initiatives out there, but teachers weren't a part of the planning or a part of the process. And so they're coming in and they're like, what are we doing this year? Why is this the focus? Right. And it's like the administrators were so excited and they had that time to plan, but then you have your teachers that are just like, what is happening?
Yes. That's why, again, I think we did an episode on initiatives, and the number one thing that needs to happen in a rollout is make sure you get feedback from the teachers you're rolling it out to, right? Because we know the education space, we know the tech game where people are selling things to you. They always sell the best foot forward, and they try to never show you the bugs that can happen along the way. And it always seems like the bugs come out the moment you try and train teachers. And so just being ready, knowing what's going to work, what's not going to work, knowing the pain points of your presentation, knowing the pain points of the product so that you can be prepared to kind of calm your teachers down when it gets to those points. And don't worry, we know this is an issue. We're going to be here to help you work through it. I think that helps calm teachers down a little bit when something new is brought to the table.
Yeah, I agree. And so what is one favorite back to school activity that you have done or planning to use with a teacher this year?
Okay, so I'm so excited about this because I was sharing this with some of my 6th grade teachers and they are like super excited as well. So I created a TikTok emulator in Adobe Express. And so basically it is a template that looks just like a TikTok video. And the students go into Adobe Express. The teachers hand this out via the classroom feature. And the teachers then get to say, hey, we're going to ask you to talk about your summer as if you're posting on TikTok. But we branded it Class Talk is what the name of it is. And so the kids go and record and then they create this TikTok video. And then because Adobe allows a gallery mode, as soon as the students post, all the other students get to see this TikTok wall of other kids' responses. And they get to go in and like things and comment on things. It's number one, it brings something to the table that maybe their parents said, you can't do TikTok, which is great. Maybe you can't do TikTok, but you always wanted to. Now you've brought in a little bit of fun to the table, but they're still being asked to write and critically think about what they want to say. So I call this rigorous fun, finding ways to keep the rigor in education, finding ways to keep the critical thinking at the forefront, but doing it in a different fun way that really resonates with the students. So I'm super excited because I was telling my 6th grade teachers, it doesn't just have to be used at the beginning of the year. I said, you can use this as kind of a chapter review. If you're going through a novel, at the end of every chapter, have your students pick a character. And what would that character say if they had TikTok? Like after everything that happened in that chapter, what would that character's response be on TikTok, right? Or, hey, you're studying ancient Egypt. What if the Pharaoh had access to TikTok during his time, and he's trying to talk to his subjects? What would his TikTok or her TikTok be to the subjects? And so it really puts a spin on that critical thinking aspect to do like a review, but it's put into terms that kids know about these days. Well, I mean, shoot, look at all of our leaders here in the United or around the world, everybody using social media to post things instead of going through the regular channels, right? We're becoming a social media world. Let's kind of bring a little bit of that into the classroom so the kids understand what's going on. So that's what I'm really excited about to start the year with is that Class Talk TikTok emulator template.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So one of my favorite activities, it takes like less than 5 minutes, but I made a School AI space, and I don't know if you've seen like the Stanley Cups where there's stickers. And just to get to know your students, what you're able to do in this space is students are able to share their favorites. So their favorite animal, their favorite food, their favorite fruit, their favorite season, all of those informations. And what School AI can do is it uses the AI generator to create an image of their Stanley Cup with all of their stickers on them. Isn't that so cute?
That is very cute. And you know what? That's so much more inventive and fun than like just having the kids fill out a Google form about who they are. They get that. You know what would also be cool if there was a way to actually print those as stickers and they got to put them on their Chromebooks or their devices or their cup, a cup on their cup. That would be super cool.
I know. I was like, I've got to work on that because I did it with a group of principals, and the curriculum director was like, can I get a copy of those so I can actually print their stickers out for a cup thing that we're doing? And I was like, let me see if I can get our engineers to do that. So I'm waiting for an answer, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be really cool. And it's more personalized, like you said, like a Google form. You don't know where the answers go. It it goes to a sheet. But on this activity, the kids see it live and they're like, oh my gosh, that is me, right? Like that is me to a T. So it's just fun.
Oh, I think you just created School AI's booth activity for ISTE next year.
Oh yeah.
Right? People come up, they create their Stanley Cup because they learn to talk to Dot and da 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 da, and it gives them the image, and then somehow you save the image, send it to somebody, and they make a sticker for you, or they print it on a little baggie or something like some of those other companies have done. That would be super cool at a conference.
Because Figma did like the hats this year with the Tucker hats.
Yep.
Yeah, it could be something. Oh
It can be something. I like it. I like it a lot.
So we want to know what back to school ideas you have, or what tips and tricks you have for me as that kindergartner mom sending her child to school in a couple of weeks solo. And so again, let us know what tips and tricks you have, either as a parent or as a coach or as a teacher, or even if you have back to school ideas. We'd love to see them. So can't wait to see all of those ideas. And hopefully you all have a good back to school week or day as you head back.
Yeah, everybody, you go at it. We know it's going to be every beginning of the school year is like a brand new job. And that's what we've chosen as educators. But you know what? You do a darn good job. So you keep it up, you keep the faith, and you keep making a difference one day, 1 year, one classroom at a time. So go get them, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good day.